Allah Koti Chandra Sushitala Nitai Pada Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Jai Chaya Jagata Jurai Jai Chaya Jagata Jurai Jai Chaya Jagata Jurai Jai Chaya Jagata Jurai Heno Nitai Bine Bai Radha Krishna Paite Nai 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 Vridda Kori Nahi jar Brita janma gelo tar Se sambandha nahi jar Brita janma gelo tar Sei pashu boro durachar Sei pashu boro durachar Nitai no bolilo muke Magilo samsara sukhe Nitai na boliva mukhe Magilo samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki koribe tar Vidya kule ki koribe tar Aham kare matta hoya Nitai Pada Pasariya Aham kare matta hoya Nitai Pada Pasariya Ase tere satya kori mani Asatya satya kori mani Nitai koruna hobe Braje Radha Krishna pabe Nitai karuna hobe Braje Radha Krishna pabe Nitai koruna hobe Braje Radha Krishna pabe Nitai karuna hobe Braje Radha Krishna pabe Dharo Nitai Charana Dubani Dharo Nitai Charana Dubani Nitai Dharo Nitai Charana Dubani Dharo Nitai Charana Dubani Nitai Charana Satya Kahara Sevaka Nitya 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 Nitai Pada Sada Koro Asha Nitai Pada Sada Koro more koro sukhi. Narottama boro dukhi, nitai more koro sukhi. Raka-ranga charanera-pat. Raka-ranga charanera-pat. Nitai pada kamala, koti chanda sushitala. Jaya jagata jurai. Heno nitai bine bai, Radha Krishna paite nai. Drida kori doro nitai rapai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Trayodasi ki jai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi ki jai. Sri Harai Pandit ki jai. Sri Padmavati ki jai. Sri Akachakradam ki jai. Birachandrapur ki jai. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Sattara Siddha Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Jiu ki jai. Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Sri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Diva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Nityananda Rai ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Govardhan Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Ekachakra Dham ki jai. Sri Gupta Govardhan ki jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj ki jai. Sannyasi Vrinda ki jai. Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Nityananda Trayodasi ki jai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande. Hare Krishna. Hey no nitai vine Radha Krishna. Why do you need the mercy of Nityananda for Radha and Krishna? Right? If you already get it, like, do you need Nityananda Gaur-lila? Because you understand about Krishna and Radharani and all these things. But does Narottam Thakur not know that? Why Narottam Thakur, who wrote Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, as like the anthem of the Gaudia Vaisnavas. He wrote this song. He's saying, without the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, you will not achieve Radha and Krishna. Why? That's a peculiar thing to say. Nitai Koruna Habe Braje Radhaka. You won't get into Brajadam. But Nityananda, he is Dhameswara of Navadip Dham. Right? So, he's telling that. Right? Kaviraj Goswami, he's telling that. Right? We're told, Chaitanya, but we expect Vrindavan Das Thakur, we say, of course he's telling that. He's one of the Dwadasha Gopals, the cowherd boy associates of Balaram. So he's always going to be singing the glories of Balaram and Nityananda. Right? But we're told Chaitanya Charitamritam, written from another perspective, Radharani's friends and their assistants, and they're same thing. Right? What is the second verse? Bande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododi Pushpavanto Tamonringo Tamonido. Saying Gaur and Nityananda have risen like the simultaneous rising of the sun and moon. And not just ordinary sun and moon, which would be enough. Right? But when we hear the descriptions of Kaviraj Goswami about the beauty of Nityananda Prabhu, the beauty of Gaurachandra Mahaprabhu, it's all the moon. When we say Nitai Chan, right? Gaurachandra, Gaurachan, and the golden moon, and we're told, Kaviraj was Vrindavan Das Thakur says, the moon wants to see, like, oh, looking better than me, more beautiful. And the sun, told, like millions of suns dressed in the case of Mahaprabhu, sitting one place, same thing for Nityananda Prabhu. Right? So, but how so his everything is Gauranga, Bhaja Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Laha Gauranga Nam. When Mahaprabhu tells Nityananda, we just heard recently, Advaita Acharya gave release to Mahaprabhu with his mystic letter, saying, you've done your public service, the whole world is drowning in Prem-rasa from your Nam Sankirtan. So now you're free. And he goes behind the Gangbir and behind closed doors in the Gangbir with Swarup and Ramananda, Lalita Vishaka, plunging the depths of Radha Bhav 24 hours a day for the last 12 years of his manifest pastimes. But what about Nitai, Nityananda? Here's the thing. Nityananda's power over Gauranga is such, and over Krishna, wherever he is, he has to reciprocate. He cannot ignore the heart of Nityananda Ram, of Balaram or Nityananda. So we get a hint of that in the Rath Yatra when we're told that at one point, not only is he, we're told, enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani, but at a particular point, Nityananda looks in front of the Jagannath cart and sees Radharani is dancing. Mahaprabhu is now showing the form of Radharani, not only heart and halo, bhav and kanti. And what are we told? That Nityananda, he keeps his distance. Why? You would think, oh, let's come up close and get a glimpse of that. I mean, in terms of, time and space considerations. But not so. Nityananda knows, if I come before him, then that mood will vanish and he'll be dealing with me. So very humbly, so beautifully and lovingly, he keeps his distance to allow the heart of Radharani to play upon Krishna in that way. Right? So when this time comes, Advaita gives release from his mystic poem, and now Mahaprabhu will be behind closed doors in the Gangbir 24/7, last 12 years of his manifest pastime with Swarup and Ramananda, tells Nityananda, go to Bengal. As Guru Maharaj said, the Bengalis are the hardest nut to crack. Right? And sometimes we would hear Guru Maharaj would say, playfully, humorously, he'd say, Navadvip he rejected, Puri he collected. And there's some, local pride. So the Orient, Odissi, they like to say, Bengali people, they didn't understand Mahaprabhu. Right? So he had to come here. We get it. But they didn't. But what does Guru Maharaj say? The stalwart followers of Mahaprabhu prefer Navadvip. Those are very special. It's like Krishna and Vrindavan. And Puri represent Dwaraka. So anyway, but he tells him, you go to Bengal and Jari Dako Tari Kaho Krishna Upadesh. Tell them about Krishna, the glories of Krishna, 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 Krishna. And Nityananda, yes, my Lord. And as he gets to Bengal, what did he say? Bhaja Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Laha Gauranga. Well, wait a minute, Mahaprabhu told you to say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. How did that turn into Bhaja Gauranga? But Guru Maharaj said, because he knows who is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. That is Krishna, but in an inaccessible way. Krishna-lila is inaccessible. That we should understand. It is for the highest section of liberated souls. It is practically, verily, inaccessible. Right? Krishna-lila amrita sar tar shata shatadar. It's the creme de la creme of all nectarine substances and reserved for the highest section of liberated souls. If the bumblebees there are singing mesmerizing, delightful Harikatha that is enchanting Krishna and Balaram, the king of the bumblebees is singing Harikatha. And Das Goswami says we should worship the insects. Then what to speak of the divine souls who traverse that world. How exalted they must be. So to enter there, Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana kotishvape mahamukti. Out of, what do they say? Koti mukta durlabh madhye ek Krishna bhakta. Out of 10 million liberated souls, you may find one devotee of Krishna. That's what we mean when we say the highest section of liberated souls. In 10 million liberated souls, ek Krishna bhakta. Right? So, but he knows if he takes you to the lotus feet of Gauranga, then yata yata gaura padara vinde ta bhaktim krita punya rasi. Krita punya rasi means sumeda sa, sukritiban. Those of refined theistic intellect will see, Navadvip is the entrance to Vrindavan. Gaur-lila is the entrance to Krishna-lila. The lotus feet of Mahaprabhu will take you to Radha and Govinda. And Nityananda Prabhu knows better than anyone that, so he's saying, he knows Krishna-lila, how inaccessible it is. He's saying, Bhaja Gauranga, you worship Gauranga. And what does Gauranga say? And he said, and if you do that, you will enter the heart of my heart. That's what Nityananda Prabhu says. You will enter the heart of my heart if you'll worship the lotus feet of Gauranga. So he wants to take everyone to the lotus feet of Gauranga, then they get brought in to Krishna-lila. As Guru Maharaj says, the Prem Sankirtan of Mahaprabhu and his devotees is the Rasa-lila in distribution mode. Gaur-lila, Radha and Krishna, is there a Charja-lila, Gaur-gadadhar. Right? So the Gaur-lila is Vrindavan-lila in distribution mode. Right? So inconceivably wonderful and merciful. And Guru Maharaj is saying, through Nityananda Prabhu, the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, you get the foundation, the strong foundation upon which ultimately Krishna conception is established and revealed in full. So that Kaviraj Goswami, after the slokas glorifying the intro, glorifying Mahaprabhu, then Nityananda Prabhu, we celebrated Advaita Charja appearance the other day, Mahavishnu avatar. But in the Nityananda sloka it's saying, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, they're all coming from Nityananda and his, from Sankarshan, Mool Sankarshan. So sometimes Guru Maharaj say, the first other than Krishna, that's how you put it. The first other than Krishna, Balaram. Means Balaram, Nityananda. And what does it say there in the chapter on the glories of Nityananda Prabhu? Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arsabritya. There's one Ekala Ishvara, one supreme controller, Lord Krishna. This is in the Balaram, Nityananda chapter saying, all others are Britya, means servants. So even though he's the first other than Krishna, and equal to Krishna, we're told, in practically every way imaginable, but appears a little different in his form, his color, but equal in every way imaginable. And although being the first other than Krishna, he can sometimes oppose him, sweet opposition, like Guru Maharaj will say when Uddhava and Krishna are discussing something very diplomatic. They're thinking like how to diplomatically resolve some very complex situation. Balaram's sitting there, Haladar, with his plow on his shoulder, and he's saying, what's all the discussion? I just go in there with my plow and like crush those people. They'll be finished. We don't need all this talk. That's the mood of Balaram. And we're told, again, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, when that Balaram, that Nityananda, and Vrindavan Das tells of that the time for Krishna and Balaram is finished. Now it's Gaur and Nityananda. So Krishna and Balaram, please leave the Shingasan, because now it's the time for Gaur and Nitai. So always intense, Lord Balaram and Nityananda and his followers. And we always see two things, like great intensity and eccentricity, right? Eccentrics, right? So there's room for eccentricity within the Krishna consciousness movement, apparently. I told someone, I said, like, what I liked about the devotees when I met them in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in 1969, I said, they appeared to me like delightful lunatics. So I realized that was just an impression I got initially. Not just lunatic, delightful, like very charming in this lunacy. And then I was happy later to hear Guru Maharaj sang the song where it says, the three puggles have descended in Navadvip, and they're just turning everything upside down and driving everybody crazy. And who are they? Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma meaning Haridas Thakur. Shiva meaning, in this case, Sadashiva, Mahavishnu, Advaita Acharya. And here in this context, Vishnu meaning Nimai Pandit. So the three puggles, they descended in the place of logic, Navadvip. And what they're doing is illogical, irrational, it's all raga, it's all mercy above justice, right? Heart above intellect, beauty over power, all of that. This is the divine movement. But the eccentric followers of Nityananda, it's a hallmark of them, whether it's Abhiram Thakur or Meena Ketanaram. Abhiram Thakur carrying around the flute. That what would it take? 64 men to carry it. And he handles it himself. He's twirling it, like a baton, he's fluting. But it takes 64 men to lift that. That's not normal. He has a whip, Jai Mangal. If he whips somebody, they get Krishna Prem. And he's whipping someone so heavily, and his wife's going, Prabhu, I don't think he can handle that much Prem. So desist. And we hear the famous, it's a rope, how much faith you have in Guru. If he says a snake is a rope, you see a rope. If he says a rope is a snake, you see a snake. He did that to Srinivas Acharya. And Srinivas Acharya passed the test. But this Meena Ketanaram, he also carries a flute. And he's very eccentric, and he shows up at Jamatpur, and there's a relative of Krishna's, Kaviraj Goswami, worshiping the deity, and sees him and thinks, oh, it's one of these eccentric followers of Nityananda. Thank Lord I'm worshiping the deity. I have an excuse to act like I don't see him, right? And the followers of Nityananda, they know where he's their life and soul. So it's not that they have some ego that they've been offended or disrespected, but they know to disrespect them is to show some disregard for Nityananda Prabhu himself. So what are we told? That Meena Ketanaram, he breaks his flute, he's very upset, and he leaves insulted. And then Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami chastises his brother, in-law, relative, and says, your fault in the Nyai, logic system, Ardha Kuki and Nyai. Said that your fault is half a hen, logic. That you like the part of the hen that gives the egg, but you don't like the part that must be fed. He said, so you present yourself in the world like you're a devotee of Gauranga, of Mahaprabhu. But then when representative of his beloved, Nityananda, Nitai, comes before you, you disregard him, you disrespect him. That is an offense that goes directly to the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. What did Meena Ketanaram say? Oh, here, I've seen the second Ramaharshan Sutta. What did he do? He disrespected Baladev. What was the outcome? You remember? Baladev empowered a blade of grass to become a blade. And that man was dismissed, we can say, on this holy occasion. So Kaviraj Goswami chastises him. And think about it, this is in the introductory section of Chaitanya Charitamritam. So you can say like, why is this story being told here? I thought this is a book about Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu's internal reason for his descent, and now you're tangentially telling some story about, I mean, it's an interesting story, but this is the very beginning of the book that's revealing the internal reasons for the descent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it is perfect and must be there. As Kaviraj Goswami, he chastises that man. What do we learn from the Bhagavatam? Nirmatsaranam satam. You cannot enter into the mysteries of Krishna conception if you are envious of the devotee of Krishna. Aparadha means also, Guru said, Aparadha, against Radharani. She's the supreme devotee. She's the supreme source of devotion. So anyone who has devotion, it's either directly or indirectly from her, to dismiss them, to disrespect them, is aparadha. It is against her. That then your Krishna conception will, at best, be imaginary or fictitious. At worst, just be a nightmare, an offensive nightmare, right, of malicious substance. So it's announced in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. And what does Guru say? Yadamiyam mahima sri bhagavatyam katayam pratipadam anubhutam apyala davideya tadakila rasa murti Shyama-lila avalambam. The whole Madhura Rasa is dependent upon her. Madhura Rasa, Sri Radha Pada Sevanamritam. I'm mixing Bhakti Vinod's, his prayer to Bhakti Vinod, but like that. Shyama-lila avalamdam Sri Radha Pada Sevanamritam. Anyway, they're interchangeable. Saying it's about her. So this book, so Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam saying you need the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, otherwise you won't be able to substantially understand these things. It's coming from no less than Narottam Thakur. Okay? So then what does Kaviraj Goswami say after chastising his brother? And incidentally saying because he disrespected Meena Ketanaram, he fell down, he was finished. Although presenting himself as a follower of Gauranga. And then Kaviraj Goswami, that night, Nityananda Prabhu appeared to me in a dream. And it says, very beautiful, Preme Matta Nityananda Kripa avatar, the Kripa avatar. Right? Just saying, the mercy avatar. And what is that? Uttam Adam Kichu Kori Bichara. What is high or low? He has no consideration. Because Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Jagai Madhai Hoite Muise Papista. I'm more sinful in Jagai and Madhai. But remember, it was Nityananda who was merciful to Jagai and Madhai. So he's saying, then Nityananda appears to him, and he's so intoxicated with Krishna Prem, he's staggering and swaying back and forth, and deeply resonating the name Krishna. And he's surrounded by all these cowherd boys who are blowing flutes and bugles, and they're singing and dancing, and there are all these bumblebees around the honey-like lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. And you think his teeth look like pomegranate seeds from all the betel that he's chewing. And he's saying, Krishna, Krishna. And he says, Krishna Das, don't be afraid. Now you go to Vrindavan and everything will be revealed to you there. So Kaviraj Goswami is saying, on the one hand, I don't want to tell this, but on the other hand, I have some obligation to do that. It is by the grace of Nityananda Prabhu that I was given entrance in the Vrindavan, And this unparalleled spiritual substance regarding the internal nature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is flowing through me. It is all by the grace of Nityananda Prabhu. And he says, what does he start with? Prem-rasa Nityananda. He's saying he's intoxicated with Krishna Prem. So, and what is the consequence? If someone is deeply intoxicated, they lose their discrimination. Right? In this case, it's a very wonderful thing. So he's saying, he's so deeply intoxicated with Krishna Prem, when he looks outwardly at others, he makes no distinction whether someone is high, low, in the middle, it doesn't matter. He just wants to share this deeply intoxicated state with them. He wants for them to taste the same thing that he's tasting. So, that Kaviraj Goswami saying, so it's by the grace of Nityananda Prabhu that he was given entrance into Vrindavan. And we hear in the Chaitanya Bhagavat about the meeting of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, because remember the parallel stories they have in cinema? Remember, that was a big entry, like this story and then another, there's a parallel story. So we hear about what Nimai Pandit is doing in Navadvip, how his pastimes of being a so-called arrogant scholar and not showing devotion, because he's Krishna, but then gradually, by the association of devotees, devotional sentiments are awakening within him. He returns from Gaya, and then he's drowning in Gopi Bhav, to the delight of Gadadhar Pandit and Srivas Thakur and all the others. So that's going on. But then we think, well, what's happening with Nitai, with Nityananda during this period? Right? And how can he even tolerate not being there and participating in these pastimes? And it's mentioned, although Nimai Pandit, he's so happy doing the Nam Sankirtan with all the devotees, and it's almost like remember, Krishna is full of happiness, but then you think, how do you improve on that? He's unlimited happiness. He still wants the love and affection of his devotees. That's so from his Rasa-raj position, still he's hankering for loving, affectionate exchange with the devotees. So although Nimai Pandit is perfectly happy with everyone, he's thinking sometimes, Nitai, where's Nitai? He should be, like, in this world, when we're having some, joyous occasion or something, we might think of someone that we love very much or have a lot of affection and go, oh, I wish they were here. That's the only thing that's missing, is they're not here. Then we would be even more happy than we are. So he's thinking like that, but not too far away in the Ekachakra, Birachandrapur, there's the home of Harai Pandit and Padmavati, and Nityananda, he's there. And he does his childhood pastimes with all the kids. They play Krishna Lila, Ram Lila, different pastimes. And he's so beloved by everyone. How exalted are the souls who live in that village, right, of Nityananda when he's a child. We can't imagine how, Krita Punya, what they've achieved to participate in his childhood pastimes. But Vrindavan Thakur draws our specific attention to Harai Pandit, Nityananda Prabhu's father. He's saying, like, he's so, it's saying, if the body is Harai Pandit, the heart, the breath of life in the body is Nityananda. That's how you should conceive of him. So we're told, whatever he did, whether it's farming or marketing, whatever, he's always got Nityananda with him. And according to Vrindavan Thakur and Chaitanya Bhagavat, he looks at him 100 times a minute. Right? So there's 60 seconds in a minute, you can figure it out. And that's what he says. He looks at him 100 times a minute to make sure he's still there, because the thought of being separated from him is unthinkable and intolerable. And such is the position of his mother. Like, we've seen mothers who are just like mad after their children. This we can't imagine. Because we see it in this world. We go, oh my God, these people are insane, you know. But imagine the child is Nitai, Nityananda. And he's so merciful and and capable of giving the ultimate happiness to everyone. And he's so beautiful and charming and sweet. And a sannyasi comes to their house, and they receive him respectfully. And we're told, Hadai Pandit says, is there anything that you desire that I can offer to you? Which is the Vedic custom and culture. And that sannyasi said, well, I had a mind to go on some pilgrimage in South India, but I don't have a good Brahmin assistant. So I'm wondering, you know, if you could give your son. And Hadai Pandit, and you have to stop for a moment and think about these pastimes. So you hear all this happiness, all this joy, you know, what do you call it? Rati, so much attachment of the pure kind they have. And the Yogamaya scripting of the pastime is to separate them. Right? So we can only, it's unbearable, but we can say, Vaihi Vishajalahoy Bitare Anandamoy Krishna Prem-rasa Charit. This is the wonderfully astonishing quality or characteristic of Krishna Prem, that it achieves its greatest, highest level of expression and quality when there's the greatest depth of separation, not in union. So Hadai Pandit, he's thinking, what is this? This is like the Ramayana when, who was it that asked Dasharat? Was it one of the, for his son? Vashishta, huh? No, that's the banishing. Someone also, and Vishwamitra, and Ram, so heartbreak, he's thinking like that. And then he tells Padmavati, his wife, and she says, Prabhu, whatever you decide, I will accept, which is unthinkable. And so he has to agree, because he's saying all the inauspiciousness that may come to us by denying the request of this pure soul. And I once said to Gurudev about this, I said, some say that sannyasi was Madhavendra Puri. And Srila Gurudev turned to me and he said, some say that was Madhavendra Puri. So I said, oh, that's the answer, is that some say it's Madhavendra Puri. But so he goes with that sannyasi on the Tirtha Yatra pilgrimage, and we're told, Hadai Pandit does not eat, sleep, move for 3 months. He's like a statue, but his divine form is somehow sustained, and the tears that he cries in separation form, what do you call it, Hadai Kunda? Yes, Maharaj? Yes. Right? And some of our devotees are there. Right? So that means a pond. The tears from the eyes of Hadai Pandit in separation from Nityananda Prabhu form a pond, and devotees go there to this day to get his mercy and bathe in that pond and pray for some sentiment divine in connection with the holy lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda goes on the tour and visiting all these holy places all over South India and other parts of India. And I think Dwarka included, everywhere, like a Chardam type thing. And when he gets to Vrindavan, he becomes like a child. And he's roaring this lion-like roar when he sees the place of his childhood pastimes. So he's in a childlike state, but he can't control him, think, and he just starts rolling in the dust of Vrindavan, right? Where Krishna and Balaram played, like Rama and Reti, where they have their childhood pastimes. But he notices that the Singhasanas are all empty and they're covered in cloth. This is what it says. Right? And he begins to inquire and says, where is Krishna? Right? Right? Back to this, the search for Sri Krishna. The value is in the hankering. And Krishna consciousness, hankering and lamentation yield spiritual substance. Right? And he's saying, where is Krishna? And some say, oh, he's in Navadvip, in Nadia. That's where Krishna is now. So he's making his way there. And at that time, Nimai Pandit wakes up one morning and tells you, I had a dream last night. He tells the devotees. He said, I think there is one Mahajan making his way towards here. I saw on a chariot this extraordinary, and that chariot had a flag with a palm tree, which is the sign of Balaram. And on the chariot was this extraordinarily beautiful personality, and furiously making his way towards here. And he said, and I asked him, who are you? Oh, divine personality, who are you? And he said, I am your brother. And I'm coming to join you. But he's still not telling. He's just telling. He said, and this is what he said. So, Srivas, Haridas, go, I can feel he's here. I'm feeling his presence. So please, go and find him. Right? So Srivas Thakur, Haridas Thakur, they tried to find Nityananda Prabhu. And it should be said later, Vrindavan Das will say, of course Srivas Thakur can find him. But the pastime is such, they don't find him. They search for 9 hours, they can't find him. And they come back, a little dejected, into telling Nehemiah, we can't find, we've searched everywhere, we can't find this personality. And Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, that's to tell us that it's not so easy to understand the position of Nityananda Prabhu. That as Nitai gives Gauranga, Gauranga reveals Nitai. Gauranga reveals the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. And through Gauranga, we can get his connection. So when they tell Mahaprabhu, they're a little dejected, disappointed that we couldn't find him, he's just smiling, say, I'll show you. And then he takes them to Nandan Acharya Bhavan, right, where Guru Maharaj later told Goswami Maharaj to make a mat. Right? Anyway, was it Goswami? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so Mahaprabhu takes his devotees there, and Nandan Acharya, he can see the extraordinary Nityananda who has come. He's, again, looks like millions of suns sitting there in this deep, ecstatic mood, awaiting the arrival of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu comes, he told the devotees, let's go see that Mahajan, that great personality, still not telling precisely who he is. And when they come, and Nityananda sees the Lord, his life and soul, before him, he becomes so ecstatic, right? And as is Mahaprabhu, and they're just embracing one another and crying ecstatically, showing different symptoms. And Nimai Pandit wants to reveal to the devotees who this divine personality is. So he tells Srivas Thakur to sing one verse, right? The slokas. And we should remember, the slokas are live stream reality. It's not just some type of sweet poetic expression with ontological meaning upon hearing which will, no. It's live streaming reality. What is in there is coming. When the qualified are singing, expressing that, we're coming in connection with that plane. And what is expressed there is being revealed to us. Right? So Sri Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit says, Srivas, and he's saying, Barha pidam natabara bapu karneo karnikaram bibrad brasha kanikapisam bai jayantim chamalam. Starts giving a description of Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys. Run benu sudhaya puran gopa vrinde Brindaranyam swapada ramanam pravishad gita kirti. He's describing what Krishna looks like. When the Braja Gopis are in the balcony and on the side, and they're watching, it's from their point of view actually, they're watching Krishna and Balaram surrounded by the cowherd boys when they're singing and dancing and playing their flutes and entering the Vrindavan forest for their morning pastimes. But all the this is like from their perspective. I'm saying, Barha pidam, there's Krishna wearing the peacock feather, Narabarab, looking like, you know, a movie star, Narabarab, and his ears are decorated with different types of flowers. He's wearing a Vaijayanti garland. Randran Benu Sudayapure Gopavinde. Then when he plays the flute, the nectar from the lips of Krishna is entering the flute and then streaming out of the flute again in the form of this nectarine sound. It's creating a nectarine sound shower that everyone's being bathed in. And then they say, Brindaranyam swapada ramanam. And at the touch of the lotus feet of Krishna, Swapada Ramanam Pravishad Gita, the earth is shivering in conjugal ecstasy. Vrindavanam Swapada Ramanam Pravishad Gita Kirti. As they're singing and dancing and their way into the Vrindavan forest. And when Nityananda Prabhu hears this verse, which reminds him of his pastimes with Krishna, then waves of ecstatic symptoms begin playing upon his divine form. The devotees are shocked. They're thinking he's going to hurt himself. His divine form is crashing to the ground. They're trying to hold him. They're unable to, until at last he collapses in the lap of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And he becomes fainted in that region. And when he awakens, you see, he's in the lap of Nimai Pandit. So you know, that robust, beautiful Nityananda, he's now in the lap of Gauranga. And Gadadhar Pandit is looking at this, and Gadadhar Pandit starts smiling and says, oh look, it looks like Ananta, who's normally, Ananta Shesh, normally Krishna is lying on Ananta Shesh. Look here, now Ananta Shesh is lying on the lap. Ah, a reversal of positions. Ah, how delightful. And they're saying, we have not seen this. And oh, when Lakshman was shot with the arrow and he was lying in the lap of Ramachandra, so I think here, Nityananda was shot in the heart with the arrow of Gaur Prem, and that has knocked him unconscious into the lap of Nimai Pandit. So Gadadhar Pandit thinking this is very wonderful, and all the other everyone's sitting around thinking like, ah, how beautiful they look. You know, it looks like Krishna and Balaram. Someone else saying, it looks to me like Krishna and Arjuna. So I'm thinking Ram and Lakshman. Someone else saying, I'm thinking like Hari Hara, when Hari on this side, Hara on the other, and they were bewildered, worshiping one another. All the different devotees, from their different perspectives, their different hearts, are appreciating these things. So, and then, lying in the lap of Nimai Pandit, he begins to glorify Nityananda Prabhu, saying the same things that are in the songs of Narottam Thakur in the heart of Guru Maharaj, saying, without you, no one gets Krishna connection. Without your mercy, no one will achieve anything substantial spiritually. It is by your mercy, you descend in this world, and through you, you're bringing everyone in connection with this divine substance. So, just to conclude my part, and then Maharaj will speak, that Gurudev would say about Guru Maharaj, so I've gone from Narottam here, this, okay, Hare Krishna. Okay? Gurudev, he had so much love for Nityananda Prabhu. I always thought, like, I'm in the presence of someone who, these are not just stories or anecdotes, but like, who has some real feeling. Some man used to come to the mat that Gurudev said, he could dance like Nityananda Prabhu. So I let him come, and Gurudev knows what that means, but he would tell me, like, and Nityananda Prabhu, for breakfast, he's eating some fried eggplant and some muri, and and I would think, like, Mars, how do you know what Nityananda Prabhu is eating for breakfast? So he has some sweet insight to the mood, nature, and likes of Nityananda Prabhu. But he said, everyone knows that Gurudev is that Guru Maharaj is Rupa Goswami's man. Sometimes Gurudev would tell you something very profound and very simple way. He said, everybody knows Guru Maharaj is Rupa Goswami's man. So why is he always saying, Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai, praying for the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu? Right. And Guru Maharaj himself answers that question by saying, when you are trying to represent Krishna consciousness as sincerely, as humbly as we can, according to our limited capacity, because Krishna consciousness is the ultimate substance, inevitably something high is going to be expressed, because there's nothing higher. And he said, and in doing that, maybe we committed some offense, or our representation was less than perfect. He said, or we crossed some boundary. He said, so, if I take the name of Nityananda Prabhu, why am I always saying Nitai Gaur Haribol, Nitai Gaur Haribol, and Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai? If I invoke the grace, the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, he said, then I will be reinstated in my former position. Right? And so he said, not knowing the glories of Nityananda Prabhu is like not knowing who your mother is. Right? So and this very mat established by Srila Guru Maharaj, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, we told, Vrindavan is for the highest section of liberated souls. Guru Maharaj humbly, although he thought of Uddhav Kari in the beginning, where the Brahma Gita is spoken, then made his way toward Puri. Same thing. Gangbir, what is there? Uddhava Darshan, more Brahma Gita. Guru Maharaj still thinking, no, not appropriate. Then he thought, well, we've been told the non-liberated, they will find their wealth in Navadvip Dham. So considering himself along those lines, he makes his approach toward Navadvip. Does he go to Navadvip immediately? No. Who's the Dhameshwar? The visa granting officer, for Navadvip? Nityananda Prabhu. So where does Guru Maharaj go? To Ekachakra, Birachandrapur. Right? And there, at the house of Hadai Pandit, Nitai Bari, house of Nityananda Prabhu, there before the deity of Nityananda, which Gurudev had a picture in his final pastimes, on the wall was the picture of that deity from Eka Chakra. And I only saw the periphery, and it looked like Gauranga at first to me from the side, and Gurudev said, Maharaj, no. He said, here is Nityananda. You will never see a more beautiful Nityananda than what you see here. And I started looking carefully, and he said, no, I'm telling you. Like if there's any doubt within you or any hesitation, you will never see a more beautiful Nityananda than you see here. So I looked with increased, interest, and eagerness. But so before that deity, this is what I mean to say, before that deity of the birth of the Chaitanya Saraswati, before that deity, Guru Maharaj gave Shastanga Dandavats and said, you are the Dhameswar, the visa granting officer for Navadip Dham. You are Patita Pavana. Please give me shelter, give me entrance there. And Guru Maharaj said, the inspiration came from Nityananda Prabhu, but you do not give Patita shelter. Right? Meaning, Guru Maharaj was declining to initiate up to this point. Prabhupada's sister, Bhavantarini deity Pishima, she asked, he sent her to Goswami Maharaj because Goswami Maharaj had Ritvik from Saraswati Thakur. That's why, you understand? He felt that is safe. See how humble Srila Guru Maharaj is. He's declining to initiate anyone. And so the inspiration, he's saying, you are Patita Pavana, please give me shelter. Inspiration coming from Nityananda Prabhu, but you do not give Patita, the fallen, shelter. If you will begin doing that, then you can have entrance there. And some other considerations, Guru Maharaj said, then with that in mind, he humbly approaches Navadip. Now he knows what he needs to do. He will establish the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. Where does he go? Immediately to Mayapur? Right? No. Where does he go? The Aparadh-bhajanera-pat, the part of Navadvip where all the offenders are forgiven their offenses. He thinks, that, in other words, that's where the greatest magnanimity, the greatest mercy is going, he goes there. That's where he will establish Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. And what is the foundation? The mercy, the grace of Nityananda Prabhu. Kripa avatar Nityananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Avadhut Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj. He's been many times to Eka Chakra and has some representation there now.
Since we've been already in some discussion, I have to be very short and summarize what Maharaj have said. It's very difficult to summarize infinite. However, Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Nityananda Ashtaka did just 8 slokas. He covered the whole Nityananda Prabhu glory in a very deep way. Therefore, I look at the prayer to just remind myself that time, as less, as more, as better, as less, as substantial. So, but I have to begin this little speech from Srila Govinda Maharaj once in San Jose, in front of Mahaprabhu and Kumkum Didi and Janardhan Maharaj and a small group of devotees with Srila Govinda Maharaj. We came from SoCal to so-called Indian program, but however, Indians didn't appear. It was just us. Maybe like, a couple of Indians, pious ones appear, but it wasn't like pack. So we're sitting in a very small group, and maybe Goswami Maharaj was there, I don't recall it right now, but Gurudev was always want to speak about something substantial, but you need to throw the ball, to hit the ball so that thing will begin. Then looking that everybody's kind of like sitting waiting for a bunch of Indians to come and realizing there's not going to be any public program, then we all realize there's some point to be an external exchange we're in a closed room with Mahaprabhu, proximity very close, and he's so beautiful. So then I said, Maharaj, it seems to be like Prabhupada, he's speaking about without mercy of Gaur Nitai, access to Krishna is not accessible because Krishna is not giving Krishna Prem. You cannot get Krishna Prem directly from Krishna. So Prabhupada said very clearly in his purport, for common people, service of Krishna will not be as beneficial, so they should fully pay their attention to Gaur Nitai, and specifically Gaur Nitai. And we are worshipping Mahaprabhu Gauranga. So I don't think Guru Maharaj give us something lesser than what Prabhupada would extend. And Gurudev liked that pitch, he liked that ball, because now he knows he can play. Because the topic is controversially between what Guru Maharaj gave and Prabhupada gave. So then Govinda Maharaj was so happy. He said, yes, Prabhu, you're right. We are worshipping Mahaprabhu because Radha Bhava Duty Subolitam Nomi Krishna Swarupa Mahaprabhu. It's Radha and Krishna in divine, exchange and mood of self. Right, and mood of, as well as Audarya and Madhurya at the same time. Then I said, yes, Maharaj, that we've heard that is amazing what you're explaining to us, that because whatever the Balaram is, Radharani is not to express her sentiments to Krishna in service, because both of them, Radharani and Balaram, in the mood of service. But there are two types of service. Radharani is personally concentrate on bring the deepest fulfillment to Krishna, and Balaram concentration to expand everywhere into Mula Sankarshana, Vaikuntha, and Mahavishnu of material worlds. So he's basically become everything. His vision is so broad. So Radharani, she's exclusively focused on Krishna, but Balaram is service to expand himself even in the shoes, into the umbrella, into Vrindavan Dham, into the trees. And no doubt that he has connections with Jamuna, Yogama, and then you discover they're his wives. Why is that? Because without intimate connection, there's no, joint service. So therefore, Vrindavan Das Thakur glorify his wives. So we would think, wives is not so important. But Narottam Das Thakur say, without Jahnavi Devi, there's no hope for me to come to Krishna consciousness. And you would say, why? Because of these serving tendencies. Then we said to Gurudev, well, why is that, we're worshipping Mahaprabhu, but how do we understand presence of Nityananda? And then Gurudev smiled and he said, yes, Prabhu. And this installation of Guru Maharaj is giving to us, Nityananda Prabhu comes in the form of Guru, Vaishnavas. In other words, there's no way to connect with Mahaprabhu without mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, but it works in another mysterious way as Guru, Vaishnavas, the scriptures, everything. Everything we have in Krishna consciousness, basically, it's extensions of Nityananda Prabhu. Although I was looking at these beautiful deities and thinking like Mahaprabhu is super extraordinarily beautiful, but I thought it's also on a beautiful altar, it's also on a beautiful Singhasan and a beautiful land with the beautiful devotees, with the beautiful Harikatha. It's like beauty with the beauty, with the beauty, with the beauty connected. But you would think that Krishna is in the center. Where does beauty come from? It's come from his entourage. It's come from Radharani, come from Balaram. And in their competition, it appeared to be competition, but actually it is not, because we see also Balaram presence as Ananga Manjari, is Radharani's younger sister. So then we can understand Balaram is not just present in, Sakya Rasa. Actually, it says Balaram present in every rasa. In Madhura Rasa, he's Ananga Manjari assisting Radharani in the most intimate way as a young girl, run and get things done. As Sakya Rasa, sometimes he will tell to Krishna, it's too much what you're doing with Kaliya. It's too much, it's too much for you, too much for us, and too much, I want you to think about what you're doing before you do it. So then, and sometimes he
if you want to play with a snake,
right.
I have Ananta, Shesh.
Right. Yes, and so Ananta Shesh, actually in Indian mathematics, Shesh means what is left. And Ananta means infinite. So his name is infinite, and what is beyond infinite is also him. It's like same, but different. Like we give you as much as whatever remains will also give you that. So he's Ananta and he's Shesh, and he is on low planetary systems are worshipable deities for all the Nagas and Asuras, and therefore he become, as a Balaram guru of Duryodhana, because Duryodhana coming from that low plane, but still he's coming to the lowest of the lows, such as like the demons, the Nagas, and Asuras. And in this connection, we can, see a little parallel of Lord Shiva, but beyond Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva is represent an Advaita's identity as Mahavishnu and Shiva, but he's the source of everything. So when Krishna say, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate, he actually really means Balaram, his second expansion, because that's everything. So as Krishna remain in his enjoying mood, that his second expansion showing there's only service to Krishna, that is the highest enjoyment. So there's a competition going on. What is that more amazing, to be Krishna and receive the service, or to be Balaram or Radharani and give the service to Krishna? So giving service to Krishna is happen to be more sweet and more amazing than just be Krishna himself. Therefore, Krishna is bewildered and he's thinking like, I can't tolerate this. I have to taste the Prem-rasa of myself. I have to see myself with the eyes of my devotee. Therefore, he become Mahaprabhu. But Balaram knows when he's going to become Mahaprabhu, he's going to be overwhelmed with like sentiments of Radharani. Who's going to save all these fallen souls? It seems like he's not going to make it, because he will come and do his own part of like Hare Krishna Nam Sankirtan. But Balaram knows. But on the end, he's going to go like, in his own divine trance and Gambhira, and who's going to deal with Bengalis? Because if you can save Bengalis, you can save the world. If you cannot save Bengali, what's the hope for the world? And somebody say, well, why is that Bengalis are so difficult? Well, just, at a certain point, Krishna were really concerned to Yadava, to his sons. He thought, if I just go back to spiritual world, I keep the Yadavas, they're going to make mess, because they're overpotent people. So when we always say the Bengali beautiful mind, if it works against Krishna consciousness for the science or material natures of politics, it's become almost intolerable. We all notice that, and Gurudev told this many times to us. So dealing with this Vedic civilization with very brilliant people blessed by land of, Ekachakra, Navadvip, Mayapur, Dham, you need to have a special mercy. So not only extension of Bengalis, extensions of all the fallen souls beyond Bengal. So Nityananda Prabhu began his journey from Jagai Madai, and this year we were so fortunate to visit Madai Samadhi in Katwa, so where he resigned eternally. And then it's quite amazing that how those completely abominable people become such a pure devotees, and how Mahaprabhu were forced to accept them, because Mahaprabhu came when he sent Haridas and Nityananda. They were the first preachers. And then, on the first day, there was a failure attempt. And then Nityananda Prabhu thought, well, it looks like Mahaprabhu sent us to preach, but we fell. Why do we fail? Because these people not really interesting about Krishna consciousness, like we're thinking sometimes. Well, we're preaching to people. They're not interested in Krishna consciousness. They're not interested in anything but themselves. But what is the highest self-benefit? Number one question, what is the true self? And second of all, what is the best you can do for yourself? Then what? So, it's actually Baladev. He's the source of all the jivas. And every jiva coming to this world specifically to enjoy. And what the jiva enjoying with? We all know what it is. It's like technically sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which is not the highest form of enjoyment. In fact, according divine personalities, it's just shadow-like enjoyment. It's like eating your own shadow with a spoon and trying to trying to take your shadow and beat your shadow with a stick. So it's a shadow-like enjoyment. So Nityananda Prabhu is showing the fallen jivas that came out of him, like, his source of everything, including source of jiva, according to Shastra. He's showing them, if you just accept Gauranga, then your fulfillment will be, because you're part of me, you came out of me, but you lost completely, and we gave you the freedom, but you misuse your freedom. But if you just call name of Gauranga and worship Gauranga, things will come better. So therefore it says, although living beings thinking that they will find fulfillment, actually, just by chanting names of Gauranga and Nityananda, gradually all their miseries comes away. So Vrindavan Das Thakur called him as a root of devotional service, because without him, no devotion can be expressed in a proper way. And second thing is he's telling, just to connecting with Nityananda, all the miseries of living being, Nityananda means Gauranga, and Nityananda means Gauranga, Radha, Krishna, Guru, Vaishnavas, etc. All the miseries will come away. So that's what I want to conclude with, that we have that incredible opportunity to hear this from Gurudev, and he said, well, Mahaprabhu on the altar, because it's the highest stand, but Gurudev, Vaishnavas, all with you, and they tell you something. They tell you if you do something wrong, they will try to correct you. If you want prasadam, kirtan, you can come with them. And that is the real expansion of Nityananda Prabhu. So if you have that divine vision, that you understand what Guru Maharaj gave us, it's not less than what Prabhupada gave us. In fact, if Prabhupada would not come himself in his own form and enforce this to people, technically enforce. So he came to a bunch of hippies that had idea, all we need is love, oh, we want to do this, that. The people had so many ideas, the social ideas, the political ideas, the spiritual ideas, the yoga ideas. Prabhupada said, no, that's not going to work in Kali Yuga. That's not going to work for you. So you chant names of Nitai Gauranga, and that will destroy all your miseries. So we can also understand that Guru Maharaj called Prabhupada as an expression of Shakti Avesha avatar of Nityananda Prabhu. So, and that's what Gurudev revealed to us, because without Guru Maharaj, we could not understand Mahaprabhu fully. But I think Gurudev not only revealed us that story, he also came, and that's what I explained to some devotees. I say, we all came from mission of Govinda Maharaj, because I did not read all these wonderful books. I had no idea about this deep philosophy. I was just a lost soul. I was completely lost in my ignorance. So I wasn't thinking, well, should I really join, do I really like Vishishta Dvaita, or should Advaita is more appropriate for me? Or some maybe Brahmanas, they're with high education, they understand, and they're thinking, well, which sampradaya do I visit, or who's guru? If you hear the stories of qualified souls like Ramanujacharya or Yamunacharya, they would go to some high-level gurus and learn from them and show them they're so qualified. So there are also that kind of section group, especially in India, who have the samskar and position. And there are a bunch of people like us. For instance, countries like Russia or China, we never even heard God exists. It was forbidden. The word God was not in our dictionary. Nobody would tell us in school about that. They'll tell us so many things. So that kind of fallen souls we are, and that kind of fallen souls we've been saved by Sri Guru, who's actually extension of Nityananda. So on the very end, Prabhupada expand anything he think what Guru is, as Prabhupada saying about himself. He has to understand Guru is extension of Nityananda Prabhu. And not you as a person. That's what Prabhupada said. It's an amazing thing. But Guru Maharaj even added more deeper thing. He said, yes, Guru is extension of Nityananda Prabhu, and on a certain level, it will be revealed as Radharani. Not immediately. So Nityananda Prabhu save the fallen soul, make it qualified, engage in service, and when that soul has enough sukriti and connections on divine level, then it will be carefully hanged to department of Radharani, as we knew with someone like Rasikananda in Vrindavan. It's neighboring story to our mat. So that's what I want to say. So we are praying to Nityananda Prabhu to send us the association of Guru and Vaishnavas, His exist in their hearts. And, Vrindavan Das Thakur very beautifully described him in his prayers. And I'm sorry, I maybe went a little bit too long, but I think connecting this reality with something happens in our life, those occasions which we had with Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, and this wonderful movement would make a lot of sense for us to. I don't know if somebody else was speaking today.
No, we're saying Parama Karuna.
Okay.
Now. Jai Sri Nityananda Trayodasi Ki, Jai Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Mahamahotsav Titi Ki, Jai, Nitai Go Premanande.
Haribo. Parama Koruna Bahuduri Janitai Purachandra. Jai.
Sri Nityananda Prabhu Avirbhav Mahamahotsavatiti ki jai. Sri Nitai Gaura Chandra ki jai. Sri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Dal Nitai ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajaka Charja. Astateras of the Sri Srimad. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Thakur Srila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Sri Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Jiu ki jai. Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Sri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Govardhan Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Ekachakra Dham ki jai. Birachandrapur ki jai. Ganga Devi Chamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Brinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai. Sannyasi Brinda ki jai. Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai. Seva Brinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakti Brinda ki jai. Sri Nityananda Trayodasi ki jai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu Avirbhav Mahamahotsavatiti ki jai. Harai Pandit ki jai. Padmavati Devi ki jai. Virachandrapur ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. More kirtan. More kirtan. And the Gaur Bhogarati will come soon. Sri Dandavat, Obeisance, Sachi Sudha Prabhu, Dhananjaya Prabhu, and Ram, Abhinava Sundar and Kali Kadamba, Chamuna's mother Elena in Moscow, Surupa Didi in China, Ni Hao, Hare Krishna, Tande Maharaj, Dandavat, Kum Didi, Dandavat, Chevana Didi, Dandavat, Bhagavan Das Prabhu, Dandavat, Paramananda Prabhu, Dandavat, Udaran, Madhvi Dandavat, Rajalati Kanur, Dandavat, Rasa-nanda Prabhu, Dandavat, Pranishwari Devidasi, Dandavat, Purushottam, Dandavat, Jai, Anandita Devi, Dandavat, Ekadashi and Tom, Dandavat, Pavel Brun and Madhu, Dandavat, Jai Srivad Bhakti, Sevan Hrishikesh Maharaj, Dandavat, Anjali Didi, Dandavat, Seva Rupa Didi in South Africa, Dandavat, Asha Purna Didi, Dandavat. I haven't forgotten you or your letter. Pandita, Rasamoyi Pandita, Dandavat. Radha and Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Madhavi Lata and Odasa Dandavat. Suchitra Didi Dandavat. Praneshri Didi Dandavat. Nityananda Das is here. Lakshmi Priya Didi. Kamadar Priya. Viroja Devi. Sulakshana Didi is here. Chamuna Didi here. Nityananda. Lakshmi Priya Didi. Dhananjay in Russia. Ananda Niketan from Altai. Dandavat. Ananda Lila. Dandavat. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj. Gunali Didi Dandavat. Kamalini Didi Dandavat. Indira Didi Dandavat. Vasudha Devidasi Dandavat. Tulsi Dandavat. Lila Madhurya Dandavat. Somya Sham Prabhu and Orth Dandavat. Is that everyone? Braja Mohini Didi Dandavat. Yarunandan Prabhu Dandavat. Lakshman Prabhu Dandavat. Viroja Devi Dandavat. Lakshmi Priya. Jai Lakshmi Vishnu Priya. Vishwambara Priya here. Jaya Priya. Kinkar Ishan. Hey Krishna. Vanchakavatruvyascha kripasindhavevata patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai, Dial Nitai. May Guru Maharaj, Gurudev Prabhu shower you all with the blessings of Nityananda Prabhu. So your firm foundation on the grace of Nityananda Prabhu for the culture of Krishna consciousness. Mahaprabhu's Krishna conception. My Dandavat Pranam to one and all. Dandavat.